Hi, this is Geshe Michael Roach, and I'm sitting with Seiji Arao Takahashi, the Vice President, Executive Vice President of the Diamond Cutter Institute. And DCI is one of the organizations which is here in the Worldview umbrella. And we thought we would just, we're trying to introduce you to each of these organizations. And I like to tell the early stories. And then I'm going to turn it over to Seiji to tell you what DCI is up nowadays. But I was working in New York at the diamond company, diamond jewelry company ending. And it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And people were starting to notice us, like the mayor of New York came, Mrs. Clinton came, wow. And people came in and started saying, you guys are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we became the largest diamond jewelry company in the world. And people started to notice, and then people started to ask us for interviews, TV interviews, newspaper interviews. And then, I was living in a small Mongolian monastery. I was commuting 2 hours every day, each way, so 4 hours commuting. And at the same time, I was studying, and I had a dream in my life that I would love to write a book. And it's just something I always wanted to do. I love books. Like, books are the thing I love. My wife thinks I love books more than her. It's a close thing. And so I always wanted to write a book, And I asked my teacher, I really want to write a book. What's the seed that I have to plant to write a book? And he said, well, obviously, you're going to have to help someone else write a book. And I was like, okay, who do you suggest? And there was a student named Art in the classes, his classes. And I was very jealous of him. His Tibetan is really good. His Sanskrit is really good. And I think my teacher liked him more than me. And, so I was really jealous. And he said, you know what, help Art to finish his book. And I'm like, what? And he said, help Art to finish his book. And I'm like, oh, okay. And Art was translating the Lamrim, Pabonkas Lamrim, 3 volumes. And he needed an editor. And then he needed someone to type the whole thing. And so I typed it. From his written manuscript. I typed it 3 times. Wow. And you're talking about over 1,000 pages. And I remember sitting on the porch in the old Mongolian temple and typing, And finally I finished. And I went to my teacher and I said, here it is, I finished. I felt like I had done what my teacher asked me to do. But I also felt a deep relief that I wouldn't have to look at this book anymore because I was jealous. I'm still jealous. Probably I'm still jealous. But and then he said, well, now it has to be published. And I said, wait, I'm just supposed to help type it. And he said, no, you have to help publish it, So then I went found a publisher, and I asked him how much to publish it. And he said $20,000. This is like 1980 something. Nowadays, I think that would be like $100,000. And he said $20,000. So I went to my teacher. I said, well, it's going to cost $20,000. And he looked at me like I'm crazy. And he said, okay, well, figure it out. Do it. And I'm like, what? He's like, get the $20,000. Then I said, that's like 6 months of work. I have to work for 6 months to make that much money. He looked at me like I'm stupid, He says, well, do it. And I'm like, oh no, I have to pay for the book for the person I don't like. So I did. I worked for 6 months, and I paid for the book, and I designed the cover. I did everything. I laid it out. I did everything, and it was like a 3-year project. And during that time, I was working on the ALL, database of ancient books. And I wrote an essay about changing it into like a video game, the catalog. Mm-hmm. So you could take on an avatar, like a Garuda bird or eagle, Mexican eagle. And you could fly through the building and see the scriptures on the wall and use the search program. And I did this whole database based on the 5 boroughs of New York, the 5 districts in New York. Like Tantra obviously had to be the Bronx, because this is where all the gangs are. And it was a beautiful essay, I think so. So anyway, this guy calls me. This is 1 week after I finished the, my enemy's book. And this guy calls me and he says, so my name's Trace. I said, hi. I thought he wanted to sell diamonds. And he said, I have a question. I said, what? He said, can you write a book? And I said, what? And he said, can you write a book for my company? I said, well, who are you? What's your company? He said, Doubleday. Doubleday was the largest publisher in the world at that time. And I said, well, why are you calling me? He said, well, I saw your essay about this database, and I thought you could write a book for us. And I said, well, what kind of book do you want? He said, well, you need to tell a book about your business and how you use the Diamond Cutter Sutra, how you base the business on the principles of the 4 steps. And I said, okay, I can do that. And then he said, I'll pay you $50,000. And that's a lot of money. In those days, it's like 100,000 or 200,000. I'm like, no, you don't have to pay me. I have a job. I make money. I don't need money. He said, no, you have to take the money or I won't do it. And I'm like, we had a fight. And I said, okay, I'll take the money. I'll give it to the monastery. So I took the money and I asked him, who else do you publish? You're an editor, right? He said, yeah. He said, I get 1,500 books every week. I get 1,500 manuscripts. And I said, you're calling me? He said, you're the first person I ever called to offer a book. Wow. And I said, well, who else did you do? He said, well, I just finished the Pope's book and Mother Teresa's book. And now I want to do your book. I said, okay, let's do it. So we wrote this book called The Diamond Cutter. And at the end of the book, he said, look, people are going to call you and they're going to say, can you help me? Can you do consulting for me? This week we have a billionaire in Eastern Europe called us. They want consulting from DCI. But that's the book. And then he said, put something at the end. Make up some name for a company and offer consulting, and you can get some extra money. And so I made a thing at the end of the book. It's called Enlightened Business Institute. And that was the mother of DCI. And we made a small company. We had 3 people working for it. And we started working like that. And then later, I got a group of friends, 4 friends, Beth, Mercedes, Ningbo, and Tina. And we made a small company, and we started teaching business management using this book around the world. And it got more and more popular, and then we expanded. And Scott Vasek and his wife Orit, they helped me grow the company. And we got bigger and bigger. We changed the name to Diamond Cutter Institute. And now we're helping people, I think the last program was 40,000?
45 in the public talk, yes.
45,000 people. And it's popular all over the world. And I feel like we are helping a lot of people. Now that's my generation's story. And Seiji's the next generation. He's going to be taking over the whole, management. He already runs the whole thing. I just go and teach sometimes. But I thought, Seiji, if you could tell us what are your plans for DCI and how do you see the future generations, especially with your new baby?
Yes. Thank you, Gеше, Michael. This is To be honest, I think this is my favorite of your projects because what I really like about DCI is how it works for everyone, and it makes, for example, in my case, I come from Mexico, and it's because of DCI that I was able to get more success in my life and practice my personal beliefs with more success. And this is what I like, that we have people from all over the world. We used to travel physically to different cities around the world, and we basically reached full capacity.
Yeah.
Geshe Michael's calendar was booked, fully booked. I think you had like 3 days between events of days off, and that's about it. So at some point it felt bad because we constantly get invitations to open new cities, and we had reached a plateau.
Yeah.
But then 2020 brought what seemed to be a horrible thing, but ended up being a blessing in disguise, I think, in terms of, for DCI at least. We couldn't go and travel anymore, so we were faced with the decision of finally going online. We've been wanting to go online for a while, and 2020 and COVID forced us to do it. And now, thanks to that, we had an idea to make an event worldwide, since we were not limited by being in one place at one time. We said, let's go to all places at the same time. And we just had our first event now,
Yay!
level 12, which is about gratitude, which is also, I think, one of my favorite levels.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because first of all, we also had a big restructure of the company. We have a home office that is international, and that grew from 3-4 people here in Sedona to about 16 people spread all around the world.
Yeah.
So I think this move, first of all, made a lot of sense for DCI since we're an international company.
Yeah.
So I think the hopes for the future is to continue growing internationally. Now that we can do events everywhere in the world, we want to grow into the regions that we couldn't in the past. One that I'm particularly interested is in Latin America, because we didn't had a lot of success there, in the Americas in general, actually. And because of this, for example, in our very first event, which we kind of did it in a rush. We broke already a lot of really our old records. For example, in our public talk, our previous record was 3,000 people. And because we have so many people working at the same time, we have a brilliant marketing director, we grew to 45,000.
Wow.
So that's incredible. That's more than 10 times.
Right? Wow.
Also, for our paid event, the intensive, our record, I believe, was around 500 people. And now we got 2,100,
Wow.
which is 4 times. So what does it mean? Yes, it means that we're being more successful, but most importantly, we're reaching more people. And there's something that I particularly like, which is talking to people and asking them about their success stories. And it's cool to see people from all over the world and from many cultures, many religions, and they all say, DCI helped me so much reach either success in my business or in my relationships. It helped me with my community, etc., etc. And I love this expansion. So I would say the goal for the future would be to reach every single country of the world, and I do believe we can make it. Honestly, I think we have big presence in Asia. We have presence in Europe. We have a little bit of presence in Latin America,
Middle East.
I think Africa we need to do.
Central Asia,
Australia, etc. So I think we can do it eventually. So that past our time, people can really practice this system, no matter their religion, no matter their beliefs. They can have success
and
come together. So I think that's
I think that's the beauty of DCI is, I personally enjoy, I like to see new countries in my passport. I always like to go to a new country and see a new stamp in my passport. And I'm really, really happy that DCI has spread to many, many different countries. And we were in a small car in Russia, in St. Petersburg. And I said, stop the car. And they're like, what? And I said, do you realize who's in this car right now? There's a Russian from St. Petersburg, and there's an American. And the Russians and the Americans don't get along, traditionally. And then there's an Austrian and a German in the car who surrounded St. Petersburg in World War II, and 1 million people, and then we have a Chinese person in the car, and Russia and America don't get along with China at that time. And then I said, wow, it's so beautiful. DCI is so beautiful that we had and a Jewish person was in the car.
Right.
So we had everybody from many countries, many religions, and it makes me extremely happy that people are attracted to the ideas, and everybody can use it. What do you see? So what do you see for the immediate future?
For the immediate future, I think to grow we have what's called we have book reading clubs, and we have a lot of our organizers, which we're now calling partners. They're reaching new people. So for the immediate future, I see a big growth in our local groups all over the world, because this is really the engine of DCI. We have people that are committed to help people how to put these principles into their lives, teaching them how to have success with this. And so I think that's one of the really cool things that are happening, and because we have so many people that are having success, they can start replicating.
Yeah.
So
I think also there's this idea that DCI, the long-term goal is to change the model of business in the world from competition to helping each other, the 4 steps. So we're trying to change the way that business does business in the whole world. And I think the most interesting challenge for us is to do it inside of our own company first.
yes,
To get all of our staff in many, many countries to really help each other and plant seeds with each other. So kind of this long-term goal of changing this competition model between countries and between people and between businesses, changing that model to a model where people believe that they will get more success if they make other people successful. And I think how do you see that happening? I mean, I guess it has to happen at home first, right?
Right. Well, the most important, I think, is to practice what we teach.
Yeah, that's very difficult.
That in order to have success, we need to help each other. And I think we're getting there. We're learning with this big team.
Yeah.
But I think already we started to help each other so much more. And I like to bring it back to the 3 goals of DCI as we have defined
What
them.
are they?
So changing the world competition into cooperation, training the next generation, which is another one of our companies, and making it financially sustainable for everyone. So I think with our new structure and the way that we're doing it, we can reach there. And part of the goal of doing this video is to invite people, if you want to help with the long-term survival of organization like this, the main thing is keep having the success you're having using the system.
Yeah.
Keep coming to our events. If you feel really called to it, become a group leader, and you can help so many people. And I think that's how we reach long-term survival.
Yeah.
Just people practicing and getting results in their life. Ultimately, that's the best way, I think.
I think it's also, I have to say, it's a beautiful way to spend your life. And I also like to say I'm very grateful to Seiji for, he takes a huge amount of responsibility. I'm the kind of person that I don't like to tell people what to do. I like people around me who just take responsibility and are creative and innovative and kind to people. And I gotta say, you're a great vice president. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay. See you guys.